Welcome to the Tibet Center.
Hold on a second.
We're rolling.
So we're here in South Orange, New Jersey. Crowds, can you hear way in the back?
Give them a little time to settle down. But there were lines on the bathroom, they were all late.
Okay.
Wrong.
So we will begin with the prayer for the spreading of the teaching throughout the length and breadth of the West. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems, and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West, and for all the people living there together with their near ones, who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them. May all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness, may they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. The Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once, the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time the Blessed One entered the Samadhi, which examines the Dharmas, called profound illumination, and at the same time Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, how should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge? And Avalokiteshvara answered, Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness itself is form, emptiness is not separate from form, form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge. And since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. They transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future, by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering, should be known as truth. There is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed. Tayata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisattva. O Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, profound transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One. We generate bodhicitta. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Okay, we shall recite a rosary of Om Mani Padme Hums, the mantra of compassion, and so try to generate compassion with a wish to remove the suffering of others. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. So, discussing Beyond Religion, Ethics for a Whole World by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, we have reached page 147 is where we reached.
147?
147.
137 on this took.
147.
46. Oh. It's up here, mind.
We had been discussing contentment and the techniques by which we cultivate contentment. And here at the very top of 147, His Holiness says, when it comes to acquiring mental riches, the potential is limitless. So, he's just talked about the fact that time and geography will always impose limits on how much wealth anyone can succeed in accruing in a single lifetime. Given this natural limit, it seems wiser to set one's own limits through the exercise of contentment. In contrast, when it comes to acquiring mental riches, the potential is limitless. Here, where there is no natural limit, it is appropriate not to be content with what you have, but to constantly strive for more. Unfortunately, most of us do the exact opposite. We are never quite satisfied with what we have materially, but we tend to be thoroughly complacent about our mental riches. Yeah, no comment?
The whole society appropriates its money that way, everything. Not much money is given for education and things. It's quite a mental riches, but a lot of money is given to help you go out there and buy things. I don't know.
Feels refreshing to hear, certainly, to think that you can have unlimited anything in terms of your mind. You can have unlimited riches. Makes me feel excited.
No, yes. So.
And to not, to never be content with the limits of your mind is, I don't know, it's interesting. Yeah.
So in order to never be content with the limits of your mind, you have to, there's the flip side of that, which is that you have to never cease putting effort into stretching the limits of your mind.
Right, it won't happen on accident. You have to constantly show up to it. Right.
At the state of Buddhahood we're on, then we don't have to. Then what? Let's put it that way.
Once you've reached Buddhahood?
Yeah. You go on vacation was Chungla's remark.
Well, no. Once you reach Buddhahood,
you work.
All the steps leading up to Buddhahood are to develop your ability to benefit others. And once you reach Buddhahood, you are putting those to total use.
And then I remember the monks. And what happens when everyone becomes Buddha? Then Rinpoche said, the Buddhas go on vacation, so don't leave them home. That's the joke. I didn't do that one. But anyway, that question was asked a lot.
What happens when everyone attains Buddhahood?
Everyone attains it. So then what? The Buddhas go on vacation.
Okay, so when everyone attains Buddhahood, then we can all rejoice happily together, sing and dance. We have a little ways to go. The good news is that we can actually get there.
Yeah.
The good news is that all the obstacles that keep us from enlightenment are adventitious and can be diminished and eventually removed totally. But in respect to this attainment of Buddhahood, if we do not, so the opposite of Buddhahood, the opposite of enlightenment is this clinging, this innate clinging to a sense of self that keeps us within cyclic existence. If our motivation for diminishing that and attaining freedom from that clinging at a sense of self is merely the wish to attain freedom from that, we will attain nirvana, or mere freedom from cyclic existence. We will, and eventually, within that state of, let's say, bliss, there'll be this little tickle saying, whoa, 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 wait a minute, you have to assume responsibility for all the others who are suffering in cyclic existence. And that will spur one to work towards the attainment of the full enlightenment of a Buddha, and to thereby be able to help others. So that the mere freedom is not enough. Our seeking mere freedom from cyclic existence is not enough. So we at our level, if we accompany the actions that we do with a sense of responsibility towards others, with a sense of compassion towards others, with a wish to attain that highest element of that highest goal, then everything we do leads us to that highest goal. Got that, buddy?
He's got it. He answered.
So, contentment. So we mustn't be, contentment is not being content with where we are. Contentment is being content with what we have. And what we have physically, never be content with our mental achievement, as it is limitless. Okay, so self-discipline. So along with contentment, along with all the other qualities that we've been discussing so far, we need self-discipline. What's interesting about each of these qualities that His Holiness presents is that the techniques for developing them are all they're inner work that we have to do. Whether it's contentment, whether it's self-discipline, we have to develop an admiration for these qualities, and we have to really accustom ourselves with the what is it called? The negative aspect of not having these qualities. And it is out of contemplating those things that we develop the determination to develop these qualities. And we find it here, but these are just what Tsongkhapa clearly states in the Lamrim. Every single quality that we have to work at developing, you begin by familiarizing yourself with the attributes of that quality and the faults or the negative aspects of not possessing that. And by contemplating those, you actually develop the quality. Yes?
Yes.
Sounds right.
False benefits analysis. They give it a Harvard Business School term.
So, self-discipline. Closely connected to the value of contentment is that of self-discipline. In fact, the value of contentment presupposes the exercise of some degree of self-discipline, as indeed do all the inner values discussed in this book. the important point about the virtue of self-discipline is that it must be voluntarily embraced. I find it very interesting that His Holiness, a monastic situation is one where you have a disciplinarian, you have the houses that we belong to, which in Tibet were the houses where the people from a particular part of Tibet would live, and these houses make up, they're called kamsens. The kamsens make up the Jatsan, the monastery, and each of the kamsens has a kamsen, like a local disciplinarian, the kamsen gigin, and then you have the Gekö, who's the head of discipline for the whole monastery. And discipline is a very strict thing, and the disciplinarian will often have a stick, and the disciplinarian has an assistant who is particularly strict with his stick. And so discipline is really imposed in this corporal way, is that what one would say? However, His Holiness is emphasizing the fact that self-discipline must be imposed voluntarily for it to be effective. That if it's imposed from the outside, you won't actually develop self-discipline. You won't have the impetus to apply discipline on yourself. So the important point about the virtue of self-discipline is that it must be voluntarily embraced. When discipline is imposed from the outside, it is very rarely effective and sometimes can even be counterproductive. When discipline is imposed by fear, either fear of some external authority or fear stemming from our own cultural or religious conditioning, the individual often feels very little enthusiasm for it. As a result, imposed discipline rarely brings about inner transformation. What do you think of that?
I agree. I feel like there's the satisfaction of self-discipline is something that kind of begets more of it, in my experience at least. And when I don't employ it, or if I don't have it, it doesn't feel very good. But if someone tells me to do something, I'm only going to do it if I'm going to do it. And it seems that has the most lasting benefits, certainly.
Mr. Spina?
Well, it's an internal production, so you must be internally motivated to do it. And the only way to discipline yourself is constant, moment by moment watching. And you have to really want to do that, because something else distracts you all the time. So you have to, and that's wrote in my condition anyway.
Well, I must say there have been times in my life where someone's pushing me, someone's instructing me, someone's scolding me has been really helpful.
Yeah, if you have that. If you put yourself in that situation as you did, a voluntary discipline from outside, what's the word? You refuged in that discipline. Yeah, so when you weaken, something is there to automatically take you up on your attempt.
And in the Japanese tradition, when you
That's horrible.
see your mind wavering, you lean down and the
whacked.
disciplinarian whacks you, which brings a certain vitality and self-awareness to your meditation.
Yeah, and they claim someday if the master goes around, he hits the right channel to really waken you up, if he sees a block. But of course, most of the time the other students walk around and they see somebody like that, then they wake them up.
I know that Balanchine said that people are lazy by nature, and that's why he thought discipline was very important for a dancer.
Very. You have to maintain a painful position sometimes. And
Self
smile.
self-discipline is important, or someone disciplining the dancer?
No, he said people are lazy by nature.
So it's good for someone to discipline.
Yeah, so that's our nature, just to be procrastinating, lazy, it's not disciplined. I guess. So I think it's a happy medium between self-discipline and also on the outside,
Yeah.
inside and outside.
I've never had discipline imposed on me in a sense of spiritual growth, but I trying to imagine it, I can think that it could go in either direction. It could either make me angry and just get the negative emotions going, or it could be used for mind training. You know, the anger, like watching your reactions to it, could also be useful, but it would have to be awfully skillfully done on both the disciplinarian's part and on the recipient, I think, to make that a good mind training experience.
But what, you were in the army?
Yeah, oh yeah, but that's not a spiritual experience.
No.
She's
well,
talking spiritually, yeah.
No, but it
It was.
I think that the discipline that is being imposed, which is for the good of the individual, the good of the community, a certain amount of outside.
Well, the army's another issue, but I didn't see that sort of goodness come out of it. There's not much. I felt a lot of anger without much growth from it, for sure. It's just the people wielding it perhaps were not very skillful.
But what's actually mentioned here is a discipline imposed by fear,
Yeah.
and that's a totally
Wait a
different
minute.
thing, I think.
When discipline is
Because
imposed
either
by fear,
of some
and fear-
external
authority or
authority
fear
or fear stemming from cultural
Yeah,
religious
yeah.
conditioning, especially fear of some kind of external authority, I don't think it really works that well. It doesn't work with me anyway. Because I don't appreciate fear. I resent fear.
But fear not.
To be inspired by to be inspired is something, yeah. For someone to inspire me to want to do better, that's another thing. But to impose fear on you is basically a mental abuse, or it could even be physical abuse,
Yeah.
because like Catholic schools, they have these crazy nuns that go around hitting you with those
Rulers and stuff.
rulers.
I dated them,
Yeah, some of us have that
No, I
that
had, yes.
experience, and that to me had never worked.
Crazy male ones too. Yeah, that's true. It never worked for me.
It never
no.
worked. I mean, in my experience, it was I went to the Catholic schools, and it was
Those convent
when you
schools.
see
Yeah.
the nuns, you just basically run from them.
Yeah, no. You,
You know.
well, you plot.
So-
We even went to Catholic high
Yeah.
school with priests giving you the crap. You know.
Well, whatever it was,
You
I mean,
form
it
a
was,
resistance.
if you're hitting a young child, if you're hitting a small child with a huge,
That's another. Yeah, that
with
that
a,
stuff
with,
wouldn't.
with a ruler, that's basically abuse.
I don't
That
think they can do
never
that.
works with anyone,
I don't think that
as far as I.
occurs today.
It seems like there's probably some exchange of, like, if you're being disciplined by someone that you trust, like this, there's an exchange there that seems necessary for it to be a healthy one, I suppose. Like, you know.
But
if you-
what's actually mentioned here is actual fear.
Yeah.
When discipline is imposed by fear, that's not discipline.
No.
So that doesn't work as far as.
Today, I don't think they can do what they did in
No,
my
they
era.
can do it, but I mean.
Legally,
they
but
did
they
do
got
it,
away with such crap.
But
you know.
in my experience, it never worked. The
At
only
the
thing
school.
that worked is inspiration. To inspire somebody, you don't need to use fear.
So
You
what
don't
inspired you
need to use
to
force.
study Buddhism? Or you were born a Buddhist, right?
Yeah, but
Oh, so it's different.
and at school or something, when I see a professor who's great and who's intellectually sharp and who's like willing to discuss with you and who's like welcoming, and who doesn't abuse you verbally or physically or whatever, but actually inspire you to think a little bit more and push yourself a little bit more. That's inspiration. They don't use fear. They don't use fear. They use the sharpness of the intellect and the width of their discussion, and the openness of the mind to inspire you. That's inspiration.
Depends who they're working with too. Some people
Yeah.
at a certain level cannot understand certain things, so
No,
they
it's
have
not
to
just
be a little.
Catholic schools either. It's also
No,
in like public. Like I also attended public, high schools and stuff. There are different teachers. There are teachers who really truly inspire you, and then there are
Right,
teachers
that's-
who are
you're talking
abusive
about
and
discipline
who
from
rather
the-
beat you up, and those
Yeah.
people never inspired me.
There's a way of using that. For instance, you should do this, you're gonna have to memorize this part because you're not gonna pass the test. If you want that degree, that's reasonable.
That's reasonable.
Fear.
Yeah, but I'm
Yeah.
talking about fear.
Yeah,
Imposing
no.
fear never works.
Yeah.
As far as in my experience, it never worked.
So on the other hand, if we adopt self-regulation voluntarily out of appreciation of its value and the benefits of refraining from bad habits, it is only natural that for us to undertake it with greater determination. This, in turn, makes our self-discipline more enduring.
Leverage the ego.
So in order to cultivate such voluntary embraced self-discipline, we must once again take time to appreciate and dwell upon its many benefits, not just for ourselves, but also for others, and even for humanity at large. By doing this, we can generate the enthusiasm required to maintain our motivation and determination. So this is the part that I was referring to before. It is analytical meditation, examining the benefits of developing self-discipline, recognizing the faults of not having the self-discipline. And that's really that's not something you do on the, what is it called, on the wing or on the fly or as you're going. It's something you have to really work at, you have to think about, you have to really get your mind to develop a real appreciation for and a wish to develop self-discipline. It is useful to begin by reflecting on the harm we do to ourselves, even physically, when we succumb to temptation and bad habits. Then we can also consider the harm that our bad habits inflict on others. So we can think about the harm and a harm that we've inflicted upon ourselves by drinking coffee.
True. Not just drinking coffee, drinking a lot of coffee.
Drinking a lot of coffee.
Drinking tea,
Drinking
over consuming tea. It's the same.
tea. Is it?
I believe so.
I don't get the effect. I can have that much coffee and I'm
Ready to roll.
Yes.
What about with black tea, though? Does black tea make you jittery at all? No.
Tibetan tea is like coffee. It's kind of strong. For me,
Oh,
anyway.
yeah, for you?
Yeah. It's a different,
Especially
caffeine
buzz.
affects you differently.
It's just a different buzz.
It's a different buzz.
So it is easy to assume that our personal behavior and habits have no real effect on others, but this is seldom the case. Suppose, for example, that one member of a family is addicted to drugs, although of course the other family members will not suffer the direct physical mental ill effects of the drug. This does not mean they will not be harmed. In all likelihood, they will be deeply affected by worry and concern, as well as by whatever other agonies and complications may accompany the situation. So in considering the harm we inflict through a lack of self-discipline in our personal habits, we should always be mindful of those who care about our welfare and whose welfare is intimately connected to our own. So yes,
True. That's
thinking about
very true.
So Tony, when you drink all that coffee, think about the effect you have on
On my cats.
the cats. Yes.
And your liver and your kidneys.
How can one develop or increase self-discipline, contemplating its benefits and recognizing the faults of not cultivating it? Yes, that is the method. That's just what we've been saying. What about the abuse Marpa gave to Milarepa, which allowed him to purify and evolve?
Different.
So, yes, as I was
It's a different
mentioning, now Marpa was a fully enlightened master who was very carefully, skillfully able to apply the antidotes or the actual forces upon Milarepa that by which Milarepa was able to dissolve certain karmas from his past, or the effect of those past actions. And when you read the life of Milarepa, it's rather moving that he always maintains his faith in Marpa.
Yeah.
And though he recognizes that Marpa is pushing him, and of course it's painful, and yet he maintains that faith. He doesn't always. There are times when he leaves, when he takes off, but he never gives up his faith. It's interesting.
In every poem he sings, always first lines Marpa, Marpa. Everything's from Marpa, as he's instructing people with his songs.
So yeah, as I said, there to have a skillful what's it called? To have someone skillfully push you is very helpful. Is very important. Developing real self-discipline is extremely difficult, and to have someone who pushes you along, but as Maya has said, fear should not be the technique by which you are pushing someone along. Though fear is the technique by which you teach a child not to touch something hot or to do something dangerous. It is when the child has an actual fear of touching that which is hot that he or she will refrain from doing so. And so that's we have the most important thing, I think, is that if we are the ones who are applying this discipline to others, that we do so with love, with compassion, with a real concern for the person. But from the point of view of the person who's trying to develop the self-discipline, Well, let's read these over again. How can one develop or increase self-discipline? Well, we've discussed this. Contemplating its benefits and recognizing the faults of not contemplating it. Yes, absolutely. That's the method by which we, according to this work, it's doing so. What about the abuse Marpa gave to Milarepa, which allowed him to purify and evolve? Yes, there is.
That's an unusual situation, though, right? Unusual person, unusual teacher, unusual student.
Yes, and
Not
but
the
we
average
in
people.
our lives, as we go through our lives, when we encounter difficulties, when we find ourselves, let's say, cheated or hurt, or whatever the challenges are that we face are, if we can take those situations and think to ourselves, this is an opportunity to purify my negativity. The difficulty that I'm experiencing is due to my past negativity, and here is an opportunity to dissolve it. How do we do that? Not by fighting back, but by being patient with it. So even if we don't have an actual Marpa in our lives, life is full of Marpa.
The mop is everywhere.
Very true.
Sometimes admiration can give you a sense of discipline. You want that quality that so-and-so has. I mean, like a musician, you want to play like so-and-so plays. So you'll practice your butt off, you know. I don't know if that's a good motivation or not. 'Cause
Good
maybe it's,
motivation.
I think
It's a
that
little bit-
often with artists, like you can look at other artists as your, like they become, in some ways, like disciplinaries for you because you aim to, be like
Yeah.
them, or not even be like them, but rather like aim for their level, their standard of art, or their standard of communication. So then you go, I want to work every day to be able to hang with really great artists.
with Aceh.
Which creates, and I feel like artists experience that a lot of self-discipline. It's like a lot of that. There's like almost this projection that I think artists that they're like free-spirited, like weird.
Right, no.
whatever, but it's like all my artist friends, everybody who works, you know, you're constantly having to discipline yourself to, you know, get work done
What's the French
constantly.
thing? And if you want to be avant-garde in your art, you better be bourgeois in your work habits. That's Flaubert, somebody said, one of them.
Nice.
It's true. And practice. How do you get to Carnegie Hall?
Practice.
Practice. Practice.
Yes. How do you get to Nirvana?
Practice.
Comes to the Tibet Center first,
That's a
though,
good
on your way.
But first.
Always comes to the Tibet Center. We have delicious food and drinks. Bring it to that level right away. That's the only thing everyone understands.
What?
But no, the advertising rhetoric to get people to come to.
Tibet Center infomercial?
Yeah, the Tibet Center.
You mean promotion?
That's, well, something like that, you know, in other words, the crass way they sell things in the United States. You have to appear as that kind of a marketer to get any point over these days. Looks like it.
Has to be youth oriented.
Well, now, yeah, well, everything's youth oriented.
That's right, yes.
You know, youth have a problem now. You're not the first one that brought it up the other night. They hear it a lot. They don't
So
even
when
get around.
considering the harm we inflict through a lack of self-discipline in our personal habits, we should always be mindful of those who care about our welfare and and whose welfare is intimately connected to our own. It can also be useful to consider the harmful effects of a lack of self-discipline at a wider social level. In my view, the problem of corruption, which is prevalent in so many parts of the world, is actually nothing but a failure of self-discipline. Corruption is always a surrender to self-serving attitudes of greed, bias, and dishonesty. Even the existence of a fair and just legal system becomes of little value when that system is paralyzed by corruption. With the awareness that comes from contemplating the consequences of a lack of self-discipline, we can gradually develop a greater ability to resist temptation in our own life. Eventually, with sustained practice, self-discipline will start to come naturally and will no longer require conscious effort and willpower. At that point, when restraint and moderation come naturally, we begin to feel the great sense of freedom that comes with self-mastery. Now, I find this very interesting because His Holiness introduces the idea that freedom is the result of this self-mastery, of this self-discipline. What do you think he means by freedom here?
Not to be interfered by random thoughts and things that take you away from your original motivation. In other words, the ability to carry out a motivation that you've had, you thought about, and then you put it into effect. When you become disciplined, there is a sense of freedom that I could put my mind here and it will go. I'm not talking about Xinjiang, but I could put my mind, set myself on this task, scope it out, and then continue. And Rinpoche somehow talked about that in an oblique way. You figure out if you can do it or not.
So when you have a task, you first of all should contemplate or whether or not you can accomplish it.
Yes.
If you can, then you determine to complete it, and you go through complete. That should be the first task. Yes.
Yeah. That's interesting. If you can do that, there is a feeling of confidence, and then I can take on a more difficult task now. I can do that. And there's all kinds of little rules, never start and stop.
But freedom. What is this freedom?
Well,
I found that, oh yeah, go.
When you discipline yourself to meditate regularly, and you develop a sense of freedom through your meditation.
I think the freedom that they're talking about here specifically is what it says is that the great sense of freedom that comes with self-mastery. So there's the freedom comes from self-mastery, and where does the self-mastery comes from? Right?
You.
So it comes from restraint and moderation that becomes natural. And before it becomes the restraint and moderation becomes naturally, you have to push yourself at self-discipline. So if you keep on pushing at self-discipline, keep on doing it, then it becomes more and more natural. And then you gradually have that self-mastery. And at that point, basically, that's the freedom I think they're talking about.
Well, for self-mastery, could we substitute the word equanimity? That is to say, self-mastery meaning that we don't immediately react to something. Just say, all right, I'm going to count to 10. But essentially, this is a form of equanimity, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, in other words, freedom can be, equanimity is a quality that we can work on by the same technique, yes.
Right, or it's a form of self-mastery, is it not?
It's an aspect.
Yes. Thank you.
I mean, there are many things that we strive to accomplish or attain.
Mm-hmm.
Equanimity can be one, patience. Perseverance, generosity, which we're coming to. So,
Well,
yeah.
I was just going to say that I feel like I've experienced that myself with cleaning, that when I keep my house organized, I feel like I can think straight and I feel free to do what I need to do. But if I don't, and the dishes are left or whatever, then I wake up and I feel kind of impeded, like there's something in my way of being able to do it. And so I always think of my house being the representation of my mind.
That's true.
That
It's true.
if
No,
I
that's
look
true.
around and it's messy, then I feel like I'm kind of messy upstairs and I'm not quite, you know, the discipline isn't there, or something's foggy and I'm not quite in touch.
What is it, there's a Tibetan proverb when you're dusting, what, about
Drill
getting rid
pong,
of the
dream up,
afflictions?
something like
Yeah,
that.
What is
yeah.
Dusting? I don't know.
Drill pong, dream up pong.
Yeah, Dilpong, Dreamapong. Yeah,
Your,
what is
your
that?
friend Geshe's
Yeah,
sofa.
get,
What is it?
wash away the dust, wash away the something.
That's
What is it?
Eugene.
I can't-
What, abandoned
The
dirt,
afflictions?
abandoned stain?
Yes.
From the,
Pong is to put down. We knew it was you, Eugene. But the Geshe's sofa, one of the things is, the physical cleaning is mental cleaning. He comes
Yeah.
out and says that, boom, for
Yeah.
the gummies like me that couldn't get around. Yeah, and it's true, of course. Nikki will agree with you totally on that. Just go look at Nikki's room. Pristine.
austere?
No, it's not austere, it's very warm with the colors, but it's orderly.
Clean.
It's orderly.
There is something too, right, that I can't, is that from Lamrim? I can't remember, but it's like preparing your house as if like a Buddha could stop by.
Well,
Like,
that's part of the meditation practice, to sweep your room.
right.
At first, it
Yeah,
always
to make
says
sure that your
to
altar's all good.
arrange nice offerings that you didn't steal. Who are they talking to?
But yeah, cleaning, I think that cleaning ends up as a manifestation of my mind, certainly. That if I'm not, if I'm like, oh, I'm just tired, I don't wanna, you know, I'll just,
It's the
it feels
Ziba-
like
Zuba Zen, wait,
an analogy for other things.
Zelba Zen.
So,
We're discussing cleaning our house to feel more mentally stable.
There's a Nyingma story that the Buddha had a follower who was very unintelligent and didn't understand
Yeah.
anything the Buddha said. So the Buddha told him, just look, you can clean, right?
sweep,
Clean. Hmm?
Please.
sweep.
Yeah, you can sweep. So sweep, and as you're sweeping, say to yourself, this is me cleaning my mind. This is me sweeping my mind. Achieve the path of seeing or something this way.
That guy turned out to be Dyson, the previous
Nah.
Roomba.
room. Now he's room.
So this self-mastery, this virtue of self-discipline is extolled in all the world's major religions, traditions. In Islam, for example, a strong emphasis is placed on the virtue of sabra, steadfastness, self-control, patience, or fortitude. And those who have this quality, the sabirins, are said to be beloved of God. Gaining mastery over our self-destructive propensities through the exercise of awareness and self-discipline at the level of body, speech, and mind frees us, here's the freedom, from the inner turmoil that naturally arises when our behavior is at odds with our ideals.
That's it.
In place of this turmoil come confidence, integrity, and dignity, heroic qualities all humans naturally aspire to.
That's the answer. If you think about that for a few hours. No, really,
Yeah.
that's it. And it's easy to gloss over, but it's the deep truth.
So I think that
Inner turmoil.
in our own individual work towards developing self-discipline, we must assume the outside forceful disciplines, try to take them into our practice. Sometimes we will be resentful of them, but I think that if we are true spiritual practitioners, we should make use of those outside scoldings or whatever. and work towards appreciating the qualities that come along with the self-discipline that we're working at. If the nuns come at us with a stick, I don't know what to do.
We usually run away.
The nuns come
Nuns, yes.
in. Yeah. There's no way to run.
Catholic nuns,
Yeah, I know, there's nowhere to run.
yeah.
You can run, you can't hide. They're all gone now. They're all put out to pasture. Seriously, all the big convents and everything.
Yes.
Yeah, I was in Catholic school and I don't know when I was, but we never got hit, so.
A lot of,
2003, I guess, I don't know.
So, generosity. It seems worthwhile to say a few words about the value of generosity. Generosity is the most natural outward expression of an inner attitude of compassion and loving kindness. When one desires to alleviate the suffering of others and to promote their well-being, then generosity in action, word, and thought is this desire put into practice. It is important to recognize that generosity here refers not to just to giving in a material sense, but to generosity of the heart. As such, it is closely connected to the virtue of forgiveness. Without generosity of the heart, genuine forgiveness is impossible.
That's hard to understand. Without forgiveness.
Without generosity of the heart,
Heart.
genuine forgiveness is impossible.
Well, if you're generous with letting
It's
it go.
hard to
I guess.
understand.
Is generosity of the heart like synonymous to like compassion?
Yes.
Probably.
I think so.
Let it go.
Right, so without compassion, genuine forgiveness is impossible.
That's better, that's it.
I mean, I think that we have extraordinary techniques for developing forgiveness. I think that we have the ability to, thinking about karma, for example, the laws of karma, and coming to recognize our responsibility for our situation is a really effective way of developing forgiveness. I think that it's really important to apply the techniques by which we develop forgiveness, because forgiveness brings us happiness, brings us a contentment, and it definitely removes the pressures that cause suffering all around. It's not that we have the ability to remove. Forgiveness is a tricky thing, because forgiveness is not necessarily saying that the person who perpetrated whatever is free of any guilt for having acted that way. It's that I am not holding this. It's that I am forgiving the person. It is from me. I think that's really, really important.
We can't suspend their sentence and something like that. But
Is it also coming from an understanding that whatever they've done karmically, they'll be dealing with it anyway, probably on some.
That should be
having
a way of working on it. Yeah.
compassion for right what they've collected.
But it's not that what they have done is some that their own karmic the actions that they've engaged in are dismissed. We're
Right.
not able to do that.
Yeah, of course.
it helps us with chewing on the thing. You know. No one gets away with anything. When you realize the laws of karma are always in effect, whether we like it or not, and then it's hard to understand that though. You always want to be the judge.
Right.
Judge,
I think sometimes I felt guilty of almost becoming passive in times of feeling like, I kind of got my feelings hurt, or I felt like someone did something that disturbed me. And then sometimes I felt like I've miscommunicated almost a sense of compassion, or miscommunicated karma to myself, and got passive instead of actually understanding what happened, and thinking like I'm being compassionate, but I'm not. I'm just kind of deflecting in some way, which I know that you said in the past, like that might be better than getting angry, potentially. But I feel like it's almost becomes hazy. Instead of understanding what happened, I have a tendency to kind of just go like, okay, and go to the next thing instead.
Yeah, but I repeat, that's better than getting angry.
Right, fair enough.
So maybe we should stop here.
Losar.
Yeah, we're coming up to Tibetan New Year, Friday, and so on Friday evening we'll have a little Tibetan New Year celebration. Friday, the 28th, is Losar, New Year. So everyone is welcome here on Friday.
Great.
evening.
What time?
Let's have it be
Be
7
informal.
o'clock.
It's not going to be online.
7,
No.
I think.
Not online, so it's not a.
No, it's
10
our
to-
celebration here.
It's
You
exciting.
can't eat cake online. You can't.
Will you be teaching cake?
Yes.
There'll be real Tibetan people here.
Wow.
Zering, I think, is coming.
Oh, good.
Oh, momos.
I don't know, something you can't eat on New Year's, momos. So what is it? There's some one food you can't close up.
Yeah, it's inauspicious to eat something that's closed like that.
Oh, really?
So, we shall recite the sutra for the recollection of the Noble Three Jewels.
Names?
Pro-
None.
None? Darren?
Michelle Trachtenberg.
Oh.
Michelle Trenton.
Isn't that the one that's an actress? The actress?
Mm-hmm.
Buffy the Vampire? Yeah.
She died very young.
I prostrate to the
Yeah.
omniscient
Omniscient
one.
one.
Thus the
Thus the
Buddha,
Buddha,
Bhagavad,
Bhagavad,
Tathagata, Arahat, Samyak, Sambuddha,
Sambuddha,
the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavad. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strength cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough for seeing him. His form is incomparable. He is not stained by the realm of desire. He is not stained by the realm of form. He is not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He is completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats who arise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent, its words are excellent, it is uncorrupted, it is completely perfect and completely pure, it completely purifies. The Bhagavat teaches the Dharma well, it brings complete vision, it is free from sickness, it is always timely, it directs one further, seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma which is taught by the Bhagavad is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha, the great Jnana, they enter completely, they enter insightfully, they enter straightforwardly, they enter harmoniously, they are worthy of veneration with joined palms, they are worthy of receiving prostration, they are a field of glorious merit, they are completely capable of receiving all gifts, they are an object of generosity, they are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata, pure and cause of freedom from passion, virtuous liberating from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are wholly filled with merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the teacher. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure realm. So let's recite the 8 verses to training the mind. With the determination to accomplish the highest welfare of all sentient beings, who surpass even a wish-granting jewel, I will learn to hold them supremely dear. Whenever I associate with others, I will learn to think of myself as the lowest amongst all, and respectfully hold others to be supreme from the very depths of my heart. In all actions I will learn to search into my mind, and as soon as a disturbing emotion arises, endangering myself and others, I will firmly face and avert it. I will learn to cherish ill-natured beings, and those oppressed by strong misdeeds and sufferings, as if I had found a precious treasure difficult to find. When others out of jealousy treat me badly, with abuse, slander, and so on, I will learn to take all loss and offer the victory to them. When the one whom I have benefited with great hope unreasonably hurts me very badly, I will learn to view that person as an excellent spiritual guide. In short, I will learn to offer to everyone without exception all help and happiness directly and indirectly, and respectfully take upon myself all harm and suffering of my mothers. I will learn to keep all these practices undefiled by the stains of the 8 worldly concerns, and by understanding all phenomena as like illusions, be released from the bondage of attachment. And a prayer for the swift return of Chungla Rinpoche. Exalted wisdom of all victors gathered in a drop, sole refuge manifest in the form of the one wearing saffron robes, Guru Lobsang Tuwon Doje Chan. Please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing from long ago the vast waves of aspirational prayers, Lord of speech of the Victor Lobsang's teachings, spreading them to the ends of the earth by means of explanation and practice. Though holding the commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests in unsurpassed great awakening. Yet you have withdrawn the activities of the form body that serves the welfare of others.
Is
that worthy of the supreme among beings, the Bodhisattvas?
Though impossible for you till cyclic existence end,
To abandon your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return from the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by bodhicitta drawn by 7 steeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life, and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full holder of the sage's teachings,
and
wish-fulfilling jewel, return with the glory of Losang Tempe, magnificent truth of the 3 precious jewels, Mahakala, Karmayama, and Srimata Devi, and the ocean of Dharma protectors, may you spontaneously fulfill our wish, the swift blossoming of reincarnation's fresh moonlight face. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you very much.